This video is dedicated to James Humphreys. James, thank you. Hello all, I thought I'd try something a little bit different today and go over some spoilers from the new Strixhaven set that will be coming out, I don't even know when, a few weeks, a month, I don't know, but Professor Onyx has been spoiled from the new set along with another Planeswalker, so let's go over them now and see what we can do with these Planeswalkers. So Professor Onyx, or Liliana of the Yale, as she's better known, is a mono-black Planeswalker for 6. She is Liliana, under a different pseudonym apparently. I don't really know the lore, but apparently running away from the people that she was fighting against alongside Nicol Bolas in War of the Spark. So she's adopted a new name according to this. It has Magecraft, which is a static ability. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2 life. We'll go over them all individually in a minute. Then the +1 is lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards, 1 into your hand and the rest into the bin. That's really good. -3, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power amongst creatures that player controls. Again, really good. And then the limit break is -8. Each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat the process 6 more times. So kind of like a mini, what is that card called? Torment of Hellfire is the one I'm thinking of. Kind of like a mini Torment of Hellfire. But as per usual with these Planeswalkers, we're not going to judge them on the limit break or on the ultimate, because half of the time you're never going to get to those. I think the most important ability on here is the static ability, because it allows you to storm off, and you pretty much want to be playing this in a storm build, I would think. We could go for something like Mono Black Storm. I'm not sure how viable Mono Black Storm is really. I'm not much of a Storm player. Obviously you typically want to go for Grixis or Izzet, something like that with Storm, but Mono Black might be relevant. You go for making a bunch of mana with Cabal Coffers, and then casting Dark Rituals, Cabal Rituals, Bubbling Muck, replaying them all again with Yawgmoth's Will, and then going for Tendrils of Agony, something like that. And then the Tendrils of Agony is sort of doubled up thanks to the Liliana, so there might be something there, but I think you really want to be tying it together with the Izzet colours to make a Grixis deck. I think the typical commander that you would go for in said Grixis deck is something like Kess. I'm sure there's other ones you could go for, but Kess is the one that springs to mind because you can cast a bunch of spells from the graveyard, and that might only include 1 or 2 Storm cards in the deck, but it ought to be enough to actually chain off either a Storm combo all by itself, or just get enough spells onto the stack to make Liliana relevant, and then making use of things like making mana with your Desperate Rituals and Pyretic Rituals and all that. What is it? Bonus round. You know how Storm works, just copying a load of spells, and if you're not quite going to get there with the victory by storming off, then Liliana will probably get you there on her own. So I think that she is another win condition for Storm decks, the ones that run black obviously. But like I said, I'm not much of a Storm player. I think at the very worst, she is a bit of a control piece so that you can get rid of your opponent's biggest creatures, which is often going to be the biggest threat at the table. I don't know how many creatures you're really going to be running in a Storm deck or a Spellslinger deck, something like that. So if you're not quite getting into your board wipes and you keep taking hits, then being able to take that biggest creature away and then gain a bunch of life with her will keep you in play longer as well. I think she's very, very versatile, and yeah, I like her a lot. Actually, the +1 is relevant as well. That's kind of like a black brainstorm is the way I'm thinking of it, where you lose the life, you get to look at 3 cards, and then the next turn you'll draw into another one, or the next time you draw, you'll draw into another one. You're loading up your library for Kess, or I don't know, a Demir and Esper zombie deck or something like that. Obviously it's only the +1 and the -3 you'll probably care about in a zombie deck. But yeah, in typical Liliana fashion, it's just a great way to load up your graveyard and do multiple different things with that, either storming off with something like Kess, or reanimating your stuff, maybe some kind of reanimator deck she'd go well in. But yeah, that +1 ability is just sheer value, and I don't see a lot of people talking about that. The static ability is the reason to play her, but the +1 is worth playing her for as well, because like I said, it's like a a sorcery speed brainstorm in a way, in black, and yeah, I really rate that +1 ability. Another thing you can do with Liliana is a Chain Smog combo. Now, I've never seen Chain Smog until I saw that you can combo off with this Liliana. But Chain Smog reads, target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand, and then that player may copy the spell and choose new targets for the copy. So, obviously this is meant for your opponent, and then they bounce it back at you, or back at someone else, or whatever it is. But the way that you would use Chain of Smog with this Liliana is pointed at yourself. You're about to win the game, so you don't care about discarding cards. You discard the 2 cards. Yes, I'd like to copy. Target yourself again. Do that forever until your opponents have been shocked to death, because every time you cast the copy, it will give you the chance to copy it again, and every time you do that, then you're hitting your opponents for 2, you're draining them for 2, you're gaining life in the process, which is a nice little bonus, but like I said, you're about to win the game, so it doesn't actually matter. And then the next one, I'm going to try and make these videos as short and sweet as possible, because if I'm going to be doing this throughout the whole set, then there'll obviously be a lot more cards to cover, so if you enjoy this, let me know, leave it a thumbs up, and I'll go through the whole set if enough of you want to see it. The next one is Kasmina, Enigma Sage. We've already seen a Kasmina card, but this one is Simic, and it only costs 3. And there is a lot to go over with this one. This is deceptively good. Yeah, when you first read it, you won't necessarily realise how good it is, but this is an obnoxious Planeswalker in the right deck. Again, this has a static ability. Each other Planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kasmina, Enigma Sage. I always want to say Kashmina, as in cashmere. Like, she might wear cashmere robes, I don't know, but Kasmina, not Kashmina. Yeah, if I mispronounce it, then apologies, but I keep wanting to say that. So each other Planeswalker has her static ability to give her abilities to other Planeswalkers that you control. So she'll give other Planeswalkers a +2, which is relevant, we'll go over that later. +2, scry 1. -X is create a 0/0 green and blue creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it. Yeah, so -1, and you make a 1/1 creature token basically. And then the -A is search your library for an instant or sorcery that shares a colour with this Planeswalker, exile it, shuffle, you can cast it without paying the mana cost. So, and she comes in with 2 loyalty. Liliana comes in with 5, I don't know if I went over that. But yeah, like I said, a lot of things to go over with this one. My initial reaction, to be honest, was that this is going to make a really good Simic Planeswalker Super Friends style deck. The problem is there's no real good way to tutor her out, but she'll be a good bomb in a Super Friends Simic deck, I think. You could take great advantage of cards like Narset, Part of the Veils. That is what the 60 card formats are worrying about at the moment. The only real saving grace of Narset, Part of the Veils, is that she doesn't have a plus ability, and she's obviously been designed like that on purpose because she's so easy to play. A lot of the times you'll play Narset, and sometimes you won't even tick her down. Maybe you'll tick her down once, maybe even twice. She's still a pain in the neck because she's just sat there. If you can protect her, then they can't draw a load of cards in order to try and either win the game or get rid of her. Give her a +2 ability, and she's even more of a pain to deal with. So, and plus she's accruing value for you. You're scrying every time you do that. So not only are you dumping a bunch of loyalty onto her to make her more difficult to get rid of, but you're getting rid of cards that you don't want as well. And then another one that I thought would be really good in such a deck, be it Wooburg Super Friends or this mythical Simic Super Friends deck that I haven't even made yet, is Teferi, Master of Time. Teferi, Master of Time is really, really good, and it's even better if it goes from a +1 to a +2. In a multiplayer EDH deck, this guy goes from 3 loyalty straight up to 5 with the +2, assuming you've got both the Planeswalkers in play, and then it goes on to your next turn, or your opponent's next turn, goes up to 7, 9, and then 11 before your turn starts again. And now you're probably just going to, if you can continue to protect him, you're probably going to +2 again, move on to your opponent's turn, and choose to have a couple of extra turns between one of their turns. And then during the additional turns, you can carry on with the +2 ability and get even closer to the extra 2 turns again. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. But it gets even crazier than that. Because if you pull yourself away from the idea of the Simic Planeswalker deck and go more in line with the typical idea of Wooburg 5-colour Commander, Super Friends Planeswalker decks, if you get into a Planeswalker that has 6 loyalty, some of which only cost like 4 mana, I mean there's Nahiri, there's Narset from the more recent sets, I don't know if there's any more than that, but some of them are very cheap for the 6 loyalty that they come down with. They can +2 with the new Planeswalker's ability, and then the next turn they can just go for the -8 immediately. So assuming that you've been careful with playing your Planeswalkers out, which I assume you are because you don't want your Planeswalkers to get hit obviously, then they can ultimate the turn after they come out, and that then means that you could go for any instant or sorcery that you can lay your hands on that tie into the colours of the one that ultimated obviously. So you could go for something like the Ultimatums are one that people are throwing around. So you've got the Ruinous Ultimatum for one-sided board wipe. There's Ingarrick's Wake for a one-sided board wipe as well. Eerie Ultimatum, reanimate all your Planeswalkers. You're probably running that in a Super Friends deck anyway, if it's a 5-colour one. Emergent Ultimatum to search things up. I mean, there's a million and one things you can do with it, like I've said. Another good one to go for would be Primal Surge. You'd have to build your deck around Primal Surge, but it basically means that if you've built your deck around it, you flip your library upside down onto the battlefield, and now you've got all these Planeswalkers to play around with, probably at instant speed thanks to Teferi, and yeah, I mean, I don't see how you lose from that, minus a one-sided board wipe like you've just cast. So yeah, really, really good Planeswalkers to start things off with. I like the look of both of them. You have to let me know what you think in the comments section. If there's anything I haven't thought about or anything you think I've missed, then be sure to leave it in the comments section. Leave it a thumbs up if you want to see more spoiler videos like this in the future. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.